As a CISO, what concerns me the most about my workloads in data centers or cloud is mostly my customers' data and the information that pertains to operating our company securely and over the long run. From a threat model perspective, I usually look at what are the real assets that matter to us: customer information, financial information, and intellectual property that relates to how we operate. And these are areas where we usually focus on as far as securing them and providing more controls. My customers are the managing directors, the CEO, the board, and I need to align my approach to security with their concerns. I work very closely with our CFO, I work very closely with our insurance, with our treasury, with our operations. These are all, I would say, the modern CISO's playground. When we're looking at processes on applications and tooling to manage the network applications or workloads, that's really a question that is less relevant for us as Cimpress Security. Cimpress as a company is highly decentralized, so we allow our businesses, our business units, almost complete freedom as far as their IT infrastructure, their choice of deployment, integrations, networking. That puts us as Cimpress Security in a slightly more awkward or challenging position because we need to manage and we need oversight and monitoring over all of those, but we're not really dictating anything as far as choice of central network management or applications. So when we're looking at correlating information, let's call it threat information or just log data from our different business units related to the threat models for Cimpress and for the business units, we take an approach that focuses on the business units first. So we're not just creating a kind of a one-off threat model for Cimpress. That'll be impossible. We're creating threat models for each and every one of the business units. They operate in different environments, geographically, technically, from a customer perspective, language, technology stack, even physical office use and sometimes physical retail use. So we're creating threat models for each and every one of those. When we do collect information, when we do analyze it and process it, it's done in the context of that specific threat model. On top of that, we do add another layer that is more global, that looks at patterns that might appear across business unit that might indicate something that's a little more strategic towards Cimpress as a broader company. I'm not sure that the way of doing threat modeling has changed over the past 15 years. I think that what happened is that from an education perspective, from an understanding of how to threat model, 10, 15 years ago, threat modeling was mostly focused on software. And it was very, again, software-centric threat modeling, the stride and dread models. For me, they don't really reflect any kind of risk or really materialize any kind of threats that are relevant to a business, to an operation. They're very software-centric. They ignore a lot of the operational elements around it. There has been threat modeling in the past 10, 15 years that did match the broader scope that I think that as a CSO or a CISO, we should be concerned about. I think that the growth of the CISO role, mainly from technical roles initially, and a lot of times due to, I would say, non-functional reporting, where a CISO or a CSO reports into IT or CIO, kept that technical focus. And I think that deterred a lot of CISO from dealing with actual threats and actual risks as they pertain to the business. I look at threats and risk at a business perspective. It's not like we're coming up with new threat modeling paradigms. They've always existed. I think that we're a little more educated these days and are using threat models that are broader than just focusing on software ones. When we're looking at security and compliance related to customer information, for us, security comes first. and I treat compliance as a derivative of security. It might act sometimes as a driver or an excuse to get some more budget or to initiate some specific projects. But as Cimpress Security, we make sure that these are aligned with our long-term strategic goals. So for us, Zero Trust fits right into our threat model and general security approach, especially in a decentralized company, especially where we provide a lot of freedom and a lot of leeway to our businesses to operate the way they want. It just is a natural kind of progression from an IT perspective as well as from a security perspective. We're focused on the assets, we're focused on the actions. We're less focused on the technology. I really don't care what kind of device you're using at the end of the day. You could use whatever makes you productive, and it's my role to make sure that whatever your role is, wherever you are, in whichever environment, I'm going to enable you to do that. So from that perspective, Zero Trust fits right into or at least my kind of vision to how security should operate. We've been adopting Zero Trust over the past year or so and have been doing that very successfully. One of the best quotes I got from my CEO was he was actually asking me, like, Ian, is this really safe? Because I feel so empowered to use any device I want. I could go back home, use my personal iPad, my iPhone, my daughter's computer, whatever it is, and still get work done. Is that safe? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. This is exactly what we've been kind of pushing towards. Less about, this is the specific piece of hardware, or this is the very strict paradigm in which you access data, and much more about the actual workflows and enabling people to do work. And again, taking on the burden of making sure that that is done securely, that we have monitoring in place, that I can identify any anomalies and any breaches based on the workflows rather than focused on the technology.